kind of you mentioned is really, really important. What are the, I guess, if I wanted to, let's say I came to you and I had really kind of bad communication skills, what are the kind of first 2 or 3 things you will get me to start practicing practically to improve myself?
Yeah, so generally what you'll find is people's communication is actually fine. It's fine, right? But what happens is when you put them into different situations, their communication changes. Okay? So normally, if there's people I've had a conversation with, I'm having a conversation with someone, they're absolutely fine. If I put that same person in front of 50 people now, suddenly everything changes for them.
That would have been
right?
me a few years back.
So, yeah, exactly. And myself as well, I was exactly the same. I hated public speaking. I hated doing anything like this, right? So fundamentally, what it's about is about really getting into the right state for communication. Because even as a normal human being, there are some conversations you have where you do really well in those conversations. Right? I'm talking one-to-one. Like you might be speaking to a friend and the conversation is really going nicely and you have a good time and everything's good. And then you might get into an argument with someone and your thing's really bad. So a lot of the work I do is about getting people in their optimum state for communication, right? So how would you be if you were like communicating? So for example, for me, like I decided a long time ago when I started thinking about public speaking, I'm like, okay, what are 3 states that I want to be in when I'm communicating, right? When I'm doing anything like this, what do I want to be? The first thing I say is that I want to be confident, right? Whenever I'm speaking in public, I want to feel confident. I want to look confident. I want people to think I'm confident, right? So that's the first state I defined for myself. The second state I said is I want to be connected. I want to be connected to Allah, right? So every time I'm speaking, I want people to move closer to Allah. That's my ultimate mission, right? So I have to be connected to Allah myself. If I'm just confident, I'm going to become arrogant. But if I'm confident and I'm connected to Allah, like that makes me very, very powerful in terms of my vision of moving people closer to Allah, right? And then the third thing I said is I want to be passionate. Like whatever I'm talking about, I really, really want to love it. I want to give it my all, right? And so when I defined these 3 states, I said to myself, right, these are the 3 states I want. And then every single morning, I started practicing those states. So every morning, like I remember I anchored it to do it like Fajr time and stuff. Like I would say to myself, right, I'm confident, I'm connected, I'm passionate, right? Like I would actually do that stuff every morning. I would practice myself to where now, like naturally, I'm confident, connected, and passionate without like even having to practice it, you know? So that's the kind of things I'm saying. Like get yourself in the state, define the kind of state you want to be in that you feel like, because for other people it might be different. Someone might say, yeah, I want to be confident, I want to be funny, I want to be inspiring, right? Whatever the words are for you, I would say pick the kind of 3 ways you want to be. And by the way, different situations require different. Like I don't want to go to a funeral and be confident and connected to Allah and passionate, right? You want to be different. Same with going to a job interview and stuff. So define the kind of states. And a lot of the time, we don't get what we want in life because we don't define what we want, right? And so whether it's communication, whether it's your job, whatever it is, it's all about defining exactly what you want and then believing that you can achieve that. Because if you know you can definitely get there, then, you know, your confidence is at a very different level compared to thinking, oh yeah, I'll never be able to get there.
100%. And I think when you're defining what you want, I think again, it's going back to that process where you might not know what you want right away, but if you're going to, for example, where you did the fridge cleaning, the sales, maybe when you were doing that, you were discovering bits about yourself. You were learning those kind of, the jigsaws were, the puzzles and the jigsaw were kind of coming together. So then I think it's that elimination process where you start to find things that you don't like, things that you do like, your values start to hone in, and then you can find that definition. And then once you know what you stand for and you know who you kind of are, then when you see that picture, then bam, you're going to go for it. And I think that process, isn't it?
That's such an excellent point, because I think that's exactly what happened with me. Like for me, I kind of went into like just working. I knew I need to work, but I had no idea what. But, you know, one thing in work led to another thing, led to another thing, led to another thing, which basically, you know, eventually led to my dream job. So for me, like, I think it's a bit like I say, like, if there's an alien that's arrived from, let's say, space, and they come to, let's say, Nawab's buffet, right? Like, and they see like 200-300 things, and they've never eaten food in their life, how are they going to know which one they like? The only way for them to know is for them to taste the foods. Right? And after tasting some of the foods, they're like, oh yeah, that one's really good. I'm not sure I'm a fan of that one. Right? And so work and experiences in your life are the same way. Like if you just sit at home and become this armchair guy who is like, I like that, I don't like that, I like that, I can do that, I can't do that, without actually trying or actually knowing, then you're just going to limit yourself so much. And so many of our barriers are internal limits that we've put on ourselves, as opposed to them being real barriers, you know? And that's why in Muslim Mastery, we're all about like break through the mindset kind of barriers and the limitations that you put on yourself, because trust me, you've got so many limitations that you put on yourself. And if they weren't there, you would be capable of things you cannot imagine.
And it's like, be comfortable. No, sorry. Yeah. Get comfortable being uncomfortable, basically. Step out your comfort zone, and really that's where, that's where the growth and the journey really that kind of takes place. And I think even a part of this kind of podcast called The Believers, I guess, meaning Muslim, and the believers meaning those that really believe in themselves and believe in their potential. If you ask me again, like maybe even 4 or 5 years ago, would I ever put my face on a podcast that's going to go on YouTube and different channel? I'll be like, don't talk to me. Get out. That's not going to happen. That's never ever going to happen. I had like such sort of social anxiety to the extent that I wouldn't even want to address colleagues face to face. I'd rather email them to get something sorted. But I think when I through like, praying through the deen and just started getting out of my comfort zone a little bit, I started realizing, there's things that I need to do to start to really thrive. And it's not something you can't really define it. You can't say, okay, this, you've got to do X, Y, Z. It's your own journey. And it's knowing, where am I in terms of my journey? Where am I in terms of my comfort zone? And where do I need to step out? And gradually doing that. And that's how it all starts.